Let me guess, you watched a lot of self-help videos before this one, but they actually didn't help you very much. Today, I'm going to tell you why. Why self-help doesn't help. I was just like you. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I would listen to a lot of podcasts. I read, or at least brought, a lot of books. But at the end of it, nothing really changed. I've come to believe that there are two reasons why self-help probably isn't helping you very much. The first of these reasons is what I like to call prescription before diagnosis. I want you to pretend that you're sick, and so you head into the doctor's office. You walk in through the door, you have a seat, and the doctor takes one look at you, reaches into his drawer and gives you some pills, and he says, if you take this for a week, you'll be all better. You go home, you take the pills every morning for a week, and you have a look at your leg, and you think, my leg is still broken. The point I'm trying to make here is so much advice is given to you and consumed by you without actually taking any consideration into what problem you actually have and why you might have it. It's synonymous to taking a multivitamin because you think it'll cure you of all your diseases. Multivitamins aren't going to cure your diabetes. You have to take specific pills for that. To give you an example from my own life, when I was younger, I wanted to be film composer. But I had a problem. I was noticing that every day I'd sit down to write, and I would write less and less. Until a day came where I couldn't write a single bar of music. I thought I had a lack of talent. I thought that maybe I didn't like music enough. And I quit. I burnt out. It wasn't until years later that I figured out my real issue. It was perfectionism. I used to be the kind of person that stood over here and he wanted to scale this mountain where I had a trophy waiting for me. Maybe it looked like a little something like this. This is where I wanted to be. But what would happen is I would try to climb up this hill every single day. And I would always fall off and end up where I started. Every time I fell, it hurt me. It hurt my self-esteem. It hurt my inner muse. Eventually, all the energy and motivation, inspiration I had died out from this constant failing to meet the unrealistic standard that I had set for myself. A much better alternative would have been to keep this goal. We could still keep it. But to make the path a little bit easier to climb. And it's to recognize that we are human, okay? And we need to take things one step at a time. We can only do so much. But if we follow this path, now we can slowly make progress and eventually end up here. If I had known that then, maybe I would still be composing. What I'm proposing to you is that instead of consuming self-help literature and videos like snacks and multivitamins, you're better off figuring out what's wrong. Diagnosing first, and then getting the prescription second. Instead of watching your 20th, what would I do if I was in my 20s again video, how about you figure out what is actually holding you back? Is it procrastination? Is it perfectionism? Is it anxiety? Is it fear of failure? What is it that's stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve? And once you pinpoint this problem, now you can think, well, what are some solutions to this? Then you can go asking people for advice. Ask your mentors for advice. Ask AI for advice. Ask me for advice. And say, hey, I have this set of problems. What should I do about it? Your diagnosis leads you to a very, very precise prescription. There are a couple of things that you should think about. The first is figuring out the root of the issue. You might procrastinate, but that doesn't mean you procrastinate for the same reason that I would procrastinate. Maybe you procrastinate because you're afraid of failing. Maybe you procrastinate because you make the task so overwhelming that you can't start. Maybe you don't define what you need to do. You just say, get better, and you have no idea what that means. Maybe the reason why you procrastinate is the goal that you're striving for means absolutely nothing for you. It is given to you by someone else, and you have no energy, no connection with it, so you can't pursue it. You gotta identify for what reason do you have this problem. Then you can think of an intervention. Once you've figured out what your problem is and you have an inkling about what the root might be, then you can think of strategies to try to overcome it. In the procrastination case, if you're the type of person who gets overwhelmed because you block out too much of your calendar, what you might do is have a good scheduling checklist where you think, okay, I need to make sure that it's realistic. I have enough time to do each of the tasks. There's enough time between the tasks so my brain can recover. Once you find something that works, there we go. We have made progress. We have improved. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is stop looking for how to improve my life and instead to figure out what is holding you back. Define it clearly and then try to find a solution for that. What's another reason why self-help doesn't help you? This one is a little bit more straightforward. It is basically action. Be honest with yourself. How many of you listen to this and we're thinking about how can I apply this to my life consistently? How can I actually act on this? And even if you thought about it, how many of you would actually go out and act on it? I think we intuitively know that just because you've found the perfect workout routine doesn't mean you're gonna get jacked. You actually have to go to the gym and lift the weights. Knowing how you can improve your life won't improve your life. It's about what you actually do. You need to have a system that takes in information about your problem, finds the solution, and then executes on the solution consistently. All of you are probably wondering, well, what now? What do I do? Number one, you need to diagnose yourself. You need to have a method of figuring out what the problem is. If you know that following this path leads to a certain problem, what you need to do is you need to find an intervention, something you can do differently that makes sure that you get no problem. You find a way to do something differently such that the result is not the problem. Your final step is to act on this consistently. If you've found a solution, you actually have to execute the solution consistently to not run into the same problem again. Now that we know what a system needs to do, how do we actually make the system, the minimum viable system? What we need is something so very bare bones that takes into account all of this, but adding no more, because adding complexity makes it more likely that we won't be able to follow through on our system. Number one is you specify your objectives for the day. Basically, what am I doing today? Number two, what you want to do is act on this to the best of your ability. Number three, in the evening, I want you to do your best to reflect. You need to ask yourself a few questions. What was difficult? Or what was problem? And the fourth step is to find some interventions. I would suggest do this every morning. This step, day, evening, and finally, finding the solution, maybe weekly. Every week, sit down and think, I have this problem. This is what I'm noticing in my notes. What can I do about it? Then find a solution for that and change your system. So here, once you've figured out your intervention, then you do version 2 of your system. And then every week you go version 3, version 4, and so on, taking into account all the interventions that you're developing for all the problems that you're identifying here. Now, this is easy to explain, but very difficult to actually do on a consistent basis. And that's why I made a course on the Skool platform that builds you your own minimum viable system. It builds in this process of diagnosing your problems, searching for interventions, and then changing your system to make sure that you don't face those same problems again. If this sounds like something that you would like, then please click on the link below this video. If you do this system for a year, then you will be miles and miles from where you are right now, and you won't have to relive the same problems. I hope this helped you. If you can't do the course, then try to use the information in this video to build your own minimum viable system. And if you need help, please comment below, like, subscribe. I'm going to make a lot more content like this soon.